that's so sweet.
Yeah. Hi, Destiny Johnson. How are you today?
Hi, Lizzy Acker. I'm okay. Half of my face is numb right now because I put some stuff on it because I'm having some TMJ. So if I wipe this out of my mouth, it's to keep myself from drooling like a little baby.
That's adorable. Babies are the cutest. The babies are the cutest.
It's so true. How
Well,
are
I have zit
you?
stickers
I
on
love
my
your new
face.
haircut.
So yeah, I got a haircut, I'm wearing zit stickers, like the almost 41-year-old woman I am. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
zit stickers, there's a few inventions that have come around since I was like a teen. And like
Mm-hmm.
stickers are genius. I just wish those had been around when I was a kid.
I was just telling my mom that she should keep some. She's like, well, I don't really get zits that often. I was like, yeah, me either. But when you do, it's usually like a real honker of one, eh? And that
Yeah.
gets rid of it pretty quick.
And also, like, my thing has always been that I like pick at my face.
Yeah.
And I feel like when it's covered, I cannot.
I mean, limiting yourself from your bad habits is a great way to stop them. I was a child with pretty bad acne, so
Uh,
I pick my fingers into oblivion. But luckily, I try and leave my face alone, just because my
that's
mom's
really
always like, "You'll
lucky.
scar."
Yeah, my mom did too. I mean, I really had so many. I was a face picker. Like, I didn't have terrible
Mm.
acne, but just like bad enough that I could like just spend hours, like a bit obsessively. And once, actually, funny story, a dermatologist, when I was probably like in my early 20s, tried to prescribe me an antipsychotic to get me to stop picking my face, and
Because the
it was an off
dermatillomania
label.
situation,
And I
yeah.
was like, I'm no thank you. I think I
I
regret
do
it.
have some dermatillomania sort of habits that
Uh-huh.
involve some skin picking, but mostly on my fingers. Here's
Yeah.
advice from the Why Though podcast before we even get into it. Don't pick your face.
Don't pick your face, but
Yeah,
these zit stickers can help.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not brought to you by Zit Stickers, but could be.
No, not brought to you by zit stickers. But, I will be ordering some more. They're great.
There you go. There you go.
Glasses and zit
Well,
stickers. We
there we go.
are
I mean,
sexy.
we're real women.
We are real women.
um, Speaking of advice, if this is the
Yeah.
first time you're tuning in to this podcast, thank you for listening. And also, this is an advice podcast based off of the advice column that Lizzy writes for the Oregonian called Why Though. And if you're looking to read that,
It's
you can
true.
go to OregonLive.com/Why Though. See all of her old columns, the ones that are coming out, all old episodes of this very podcast that you're listening to. And if you want even more Lizzy than that, guess what? Guess how you can get a hold of her. Tell them, Lizzy.
You can text me. You can text me.
You can
You
text
can
her.
text the word advice to 503-751-8731, and then just click the link and subscribe, and you will be texting me directly. It is paid. I don't get the money though, but somebody else does, and then it indirectly comes to me. But I'm not like asking you to pay me to text me. It's
Mm-hmm.
a service. It's a cool service, and it's the first 2 weeks are free, so you should sign up for it. Just get a couple texts, get it going. Again, that is text the word advice to 503-751-8731, and then click the link and subscribe. And I'll be texting you.
Yeah,
It's me. It's just me. It's really me texting you.
absolutely. And we've talked about this, but Liz is going to ask you maybe for your advice or for your questions or even for
Right.
your idle gossip. So,
Love idle
real
gossip.
chit-chatting
I
time.
love it. Yeah.
Well,
But
speaking of
you know
idle
what?
gossip,
That's what we're here for.
that's what we're here for.
Idle
And
gossip.
we have a great question this week, I think, that is fraught with possible pettiness. Not that this writer's being petty, but I think if I were in
No.
this writer's situation, I would be. So, you ready to get into
I am ready to get into it.
it? Right. Okay. Um, we'll start here. Dear
Okay.
Lizzy, that's you. Um, I'm part of a community of people who share the same hobby. That's cool.
Yep.
It's nice to have folks that are into the same stuff as you are and support one another in their endeavors. This hobby involves a lot of learning, which often happens by trial and error and sometimes takes some people longer than others to get good at what we're doing. You can help newbies along the way with advice and suggestions. Here's the rub. One member of our extended group often takes to social media to quote, call out, end quote, but never by name, those who maybe are still struggling to get proficient. Even if her concerns are valid in some instances, it's hard not to read between the lines that she just really either wants only proficient people to participate and doesn't want to deal with those who are struggling. In person, I like this person.
Yeah.
and we get along okay with her. Her social media posts, though, are very off putting and have caused some really hard feelings, especially with our new group members. The community is small, we can't really exclude her. Is there a kind of way to get her to tone down her social media posts, or should we just warn all the new people that they may be hearing some smack just from that corner of the room? And yes, I've hidden her. I can't read that stuff anymore. Signed, enthusiastic
Oh,
hobbyist.
yeah. Well, this is interesting. You know, I feel like this is one of the problems with social media.
Mm,
That like this person saying, I like this person in person, but her social media presence, it doesn't sort of
yeah.
jibe. And I think that's because like you can say things on social media that you would never say to a person to their face. And you can get this feeling of like self-righteousness while you're typing away.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I'm wondering, I'm curious, like what kind of social media posts these are. If this is like a Facebook group, for example, I'm imagining a Facebook group. What are you thinking?
Right. Yeah, probably something like that, right? Or, they're all in some kind of something where they're viewing each other for this purpose of the hobby, right? So maybe it's a little hard to ignore. Props
Right,
to enthusiastic hobbyists for choosing their joy over having to read this, though. I thought that was a great
right.
thing that they
Yeah,
said
blocking them is
because
a
you get
great.
to choose how you engage in social media. Like people get to
Yeah.
choose how bad or how good their posts are. You get to choose if you want to be insane about what somebody else writes or not.
Yeah. It's kind of like something we frequently discussed about boundaries, which is like when you set a
Mm-hmm.
boundary, it's not about telling other people what to do, it's about your behavior. So, like,
Right.
you block that person. But
Mm-hmm.
the concern being, like, new people coming in are going to feel kind of unwelcome in this community if there's somebody out there who's, kind of trashing new people all the time. So, I guess
Yeah.
if it was a Facebook group and I had anything to do, like something like a Facebook group, we're talking like a forum or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
you are allowed to set rules for those groups, like
Sure.
internally, you can create your own rules. So whoever's in charge of this community, I think is totally reasonable. Like I'm in some Facebook groups, huge Facebook groups, like
Mm-hmm.
Portland area working moms. Like that's a
Right.
big Facebook group. I
Yeah.
maybe personally know 3 people in the group. There's a trillion others. And there's very
Right.
specific rules for it because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise things can get out of hand. And especially when you don't know people, it's really easy to judge them or make really hurtful comments. So some of the rules might be no personally hurtful comments,
Right.
like, some like there's rules that are like, don't talk about vaccination. Just, like something like that. You can make
Mm-hmm.
up the rules, whatever it is that's like a sticky point for that community that can cause people to get a little bit um, out of control um, or
Yeah.
get personal is like, I think it's really reasonable to either talk to the people who are in charge of that group, or if you're in charge of it, set rules
Mm-hmm.
and delete posts that break the rules.
What if this is on this person's personal social media, but they just kind of follow each other
Yeah,
because of the hobby? Then,
right.
then what do you think?
That's then it's harder,
Right.
right? I mean, then it's yeah, that gets harder, and I think that the writer is doing the right thing by just blocking them, you know. But yeah, how do you let other people who are newer into the group know? You know, yeah, that's hard. I'm trying to think of, I think that one thing that I've done in situations where it's like a public forum or a public situation and you see somebody who's maybe attacking another person, like you're not in it, but you see it happening. Um, I've reached out to that person who I feel like is getting attacked or whatever and been like, "Hey,
Mm,
I saw that. I see you.
yeah.
That's not cool and I'm sorry that that happened to you." You know?
Yeah, I mean that's a really human approach, right? And kind of the least confrontational way to approach it.
Right.
We kind of talked about this. Well, I mentioned this like the theory of the missing stair. So every
Yes.
group has a missing stair, and the idea
Uh-huh.
is that everybody deals with this problem by working around it to support it from behind the scenes. So the
Right.
writer kind of talks about this, like, should we just warn everybody who comes in that this person isn't great? I mean, I guess
But
my
I also
question is
yeah.
ultimately, is that like, why can't you kick this person out?
You have to kick the person
If
out in a
they're
way. Yeah.
something that's like, if they're doing something that's damaging to all of you,
Right.
I mean,
Right. Well, that's why I think if
you
it's a
might have to
group
kick them
and if it's
out.
actually you have to kick them out. But first, before you kick them out, you need to set rules for the group. Like these are
Yeah.
this is how we communicate. This is what we are all,
Hmm.
even if we're not all agreeing on it. I'm thinking of like anything can be like a I
Sure.
just bridge club came to my mind because my parents were in the bridge club. But, like
I love that.
I'm not. I don't know what the rules of the bridge club are, but like they have like a email listserv, and like but there's like
Hmm.
any group can create their
Hmm.
own rules of engagement. And when you create those rules, you can even at the end be like, if you can't follow these rules, you can't be on X thing. You are not allowed to send emails to the group
Hmm.
if you cannot follow these rules.
Right.
You cannot post on this forum if you cannot follow these rules. And I think it's reasonable to make those rules something like include, you can't say derogatory things about new members that, you can't like I don't know, throw shade at people who might not know everything about this community. Like we're all learning, we're all trying to get better at whatever the hobby is, whether it's hot gluing,
Sure.
rhinestones to t-shirts or whatever it is. We don't know, but like you can't
Right.
part of it is engaging new members and helping them be part of this group.
Hmm. I also
You're
think, I
frozen. Is
mean,
this my internet?
unfortunately, you're frozen for me, but I can hear you.
I can't.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I hear you typing. I see you moving now. Can you hear me?
You can't hear me, but I can hear you. Wait, no, I can't hear you and you can hear me. But now I'm moving upstairs right
I
next to the router.
Okay. I mean, I can see you moving now, so I think it's getting better.
Let's see. Okay, can you hear me now? I
Hello.
can. Hello.
Hello. I don't know
Hello.
what happened there, but it's fine. It's still
Tech.
recording.
Yeah.
Tech. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say also, I
Mm,
think that's a great point that when you run a group that is supposed to be available to people who are both new and experienced in a hobby, you get to set
mm.
the rules, and it shouldn't be controversial. Those rules shouldn't be controversial, right? So, like,
Right.
if you don't want to follow them, you don't have to be in this group. Like, we're all adults here, and
Totally.
I also think in the same vein of we're all adults here, someone needs to confront this person, right? If it's causing problems among the group, to the extent where you're like, we need to build an action plan so we can keep new
Right.
people in here, like
Mm.
somebody needs to be like, hey, your posts are out of pocket. And I would love to remind you that this is something that people want to get into. You are somebody who has experience and you could change the way somebody sees this hobby that you care about. And I say
Mm.
this from experience I'm a person with many hobbies, many nerdy hobbies. And some of them are extremely welcoming. Crocheting, so welcoming. Old people, young people, great. Dice making for D&D, not welcoming.
Right.
People are so rude for no reason. So it's just
Weird.
like,
Yeah.
it's weird the things that people will be elitist about, but
Yeah.
ultimately, like,
Totally.
you're doing your group a disservice. Not you specifically, the writer, but you,
Mm.
basically everybody else in this group, are doing your group that should be a happy hobby making situation a real disservice by not telling this person that they are ruining this experience for other people in the group. And also, reminder, you weren't born good at this hobby. It's weird of you
Right.
to be judgmental about other people not being good at this hobby when it had to have taken time. Nobody is just good at stuff. when they start,
Anything.
you know?
Nobody's just good at anything. I mean, like
Right.
babies have to learn how to eat food, you know?
Right.
Like nobody is good at anything. And in fact, like, you know, in all of the activities that I enjoy, I think it's sort of a common thread that you can learn from beginners because they're approaching whatever it is without all the baggage that you have. So yeah, like
Hmm.
reminding this person that like beginners are actually incredibly valuable to our community because beyond the fact that they are what keep it going, like getting new people in is what keeps this community going. Like they can teach us stuff. We can learn from them if we aren't judging them all the time. Like,
Yeah,
we
I
learn
totally
new
agree.
ways to do things.
And that is such a good way to look at it too. But also, my mother, a very classy woman who I love very much,
Hmm. Hmm.
has a saying. So like you can think what you want, right? But you don't have to put it on social media, even if you think you're. I think most people who are posting social media things and excluding names know that they're being
Right.
shifty, right? So like
Right.
don't pretend like you don't know what's going on. But also, my mom has this saying about
Hmm.
opinions. Um, Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, but I don't really need to know about yours. You know? So I think maybe that also applies here. Like you can have your
Right.
opinions from your experience, right? And
Hmm.
you can feel annoyed about the clumsiness of new people or maybe
Hmm.
an approach that you don't agree with. Um,
Yeah.
you can also keep it to yourself.
Right. Yeah. 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 I think it's totally fair to reach out like next time. And I think you need to wait till it happens. I always think like it's
Hmm.
better to actually like to address an issue as it happens instead of like, you do this all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like
Yeah.
so next time this person posts something that is like kind of harmful to new members of the group, to reach out to that person, privately and just say, "Hey, I saw your post. I'm not sure you meant it to come off this way, but I feel like it feels a little excluding to newer members and it could hurt their feelings." Like start there and see what happens.
Hmm.
Um, and then I also really think having ground rules for your community is a great idea, because then it becomes not personal. When I see someone like in one of these big groups I'm in, they're just like, this post violated the community guidelines. If you want to know more, you can like
Right.
message us. We're deleting it.
Yeah.
Oh, Grant is calling me. One sec. I'm just gonna text him and tell him.
Not your editor interrupting your content.
God, my editor interrupting my content.
I think that you're right that you have to wait for the incident to happen again, right? Or else it just becomes like a weird matter of opinion
Attack.
arguing back and
Yeah.
forth. Yeah, with adults, and
Yeah.
that's just like weird.
Uh-huh.
Also, and this is just me, and you can tell me what you think about this, but I might, I might come to the confrontation, not hoping that it's going to be a confrontation, right? Hoping that
Yeah.
this person's going to understand where I'm coming from, but with
Right.
receipts.
Yeah.
Because this is
Totally. That's
repeated
fair.
behavior, and I would hate for this person to not understand the breadth of which this is impacting people.
Hmm.
And I might, if I would just talk to them one on one because nobody likes to be, ganged up on. But
Right. Hmm.
bringing receipts of past posts might be helpful in showing this person how maybe they're mistaken in thinking that they're being more opaque than they actually are.
Right.
Um,
Totally. Yeah. And I think,
Again,
yeah,
not
if
to
you get
attack
any
them, but
pushback, no, you can bring more to it. Yeah. The moment, if you
yeah,
get pushback, you can, you can add on. Like, I think there's a lot of
right.
reasons why this isn't okay,
Hmm.
and you can make a list and be ready with
And
those
so,
reasons.
definitely. And do you think that the last kind of resort after they've, reasonably confronted this person would be to exclude them from get togethers or, like, what do you think? I guess,
Well, I mean,
what is
I think
what's the
someone can be
ultimate extreme
excluded on,
action?
I think someone should first be, I think, warned, like talked to about it and warned. I think there should
Hmm.
be clear, explicit guidelines for the group, online group
Hmm.
behavior. And I think like
Hmm.
last resort should be telling this person that they can't
post anymore online, you know,
Yeah.
and then removing them from the group if they can't abide by those rules.
Hmm.
And even and like they can still be there physically in person. You know, like I know lots of people. And this is to move past like hobbies, but I know people who have blocked their straight up relatives online because their social media presence is so over the top
Hmm.
and like offensive or whatever, but they still see them in person because people are different in
Right.
person. You know what I mean? People are not going to hold up a meme in front of their face that makes you want to punch them in the face. You know what I mean? They're just like going to be people
Hmm.
most of the time. And when someone says something to you face to face that's hurtful, it's so much easier to respond in a
Hmm.
human, immediate way. I mean, maybe you won't, but I mean, like if someone says something mean straight up to your face, you might start crying, and then they have to deal with that.
Right.
Like, you
Right.
know, then
Yeah.
they have to be like, oops, ooh, you know?
It doesn't feel like a victimless crime anymore when you're sitting in a
Right,
room full of people whose actual feelings you can feel being hurt. I think
right.
that's also a valid point in the favor of the person who's being shady, right? That
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're just so blind to the idea that this could be hurting these people's feelings. And also, now there's behind the scenes work going on by other people to not
Yeah,
stop this behavior, but let other people know that this behavior is happening. So, I
yeah,
mean, they may just be completely delulu about it. And you might
right.
think to yourself, how could somebody not know? Like, I would know. Some people
You
are
know,
very ignorant about emotional intelligence and just need to be explained
and also
things.
the
So
internet,
hopefully, giving
you
them the
know?
benefit of the doubt, hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, and I think also the internet. Like, we don't know how old
Yeah.
this person is, but for some reason I'm imagining they're older. And like they just might not have had the experience that we've had, which is
Hmm.
being in online situations since like sixth grade. You know, so
Right.
like
Yeah.
they don't know the impact that their behavior is having necessarily. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
letting them know is totally reasonable. So I guess if I'm going to boil it down to what I think the letter writer should do, and also I
Hmm.
guess we're kind of assuming that these two people, the letter writer and the person posting, are on a similar sort of like hierarchical level in this
Hmm.
group, because if you're below this person, it's a lot harder, and I think you got to like reach out to whoever's in
Yeah.
charge. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, like for the, hot glue gunning glitter community, I don't
Hmm.
know who is in
Yes.
charge or if it's a
Yes.
non-hierarchical system or what. Um, but yeah, I think first of all, when it happens again, reaching out to that person privately and just being like, "Hey, I don't know if you
Hmm.
meant to come across this way, but that seemed a little hurtful to the new members, and we're just trying to like get new members. We're not trying to push them away. Even make it about that. Like we need to
Yeah.
grow this, like for
Right.
reasons. Like everyone needs to grow their things. Because we're a cult, we need to keep growing. No, just kidding. It's not a cult. But
It's a glitter glue gun cult.
we need more people to buy our glue guns. Um, but and then also even before, at the same time, like working with whoever's in charge of that forum to create some guidelines just to make it feel like a safer space for everybody involved. Then it
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be about this person who's making these posts. It can be about everyone. Maybe even asking for input from people, like, what are some rules that you'd like to see for this forum to make everyone feel welcome,
Hmm. No,
and
I
then put
think
those
that's
in
really
place.
great. And it also leads with empathy, which is good, right? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of like, because when you see repeated what you might think is unfavorable behavior, you can lose your patience
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly,
Right.
and no
Mm-hmm.
longer give somebody the benefit of the doubt. And it seems like this writer wants to give this person the benefit of the doubt because they
Yeah.
like them in person, right?
Yeah.
So doing something like that, I think alleviates the pressure, and it no longer feels like a weird intervention where you're sitting down and you're like, "You're the problem," which
Right.
isn't great either.
Right, and I think I think this about like our last episode and this. I'm like, I don't know. This is sort of a theme of like
Sure.
sometimes it feels like it would be better and like more satisfying to do something petty or
Yeah.
just like something immediate to show you're right and be right. But
Hmm.
ultimately, for your happiness and for everyone else's, like, do you want to be? Actually, I was thinking, my friend was saying this recently. She was like, I don't know if it's from recovery, like the recovery
Sure.
community or whatever, but she's like, we have a saying that's like, would you rather be right or be happy? You know? And I think like ultimately you can be right, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. That it doesn't mean that it's going to
And
work out in a
that
way
can
that's
be, I think, such a struggle for people.
yeah.
Even I talked to my mom about this too. Like when I was a teenager, I would really weaponize my honesty, and I would say
Uh-huh.
things that were just honest, and I'd be like, "Well, your feelings are hurt, but it doesn't really matter because it's the truth." Like,
Right.
who wants to interact with somebody like
That's such a
that?
teen girl thing. Oh my God.
It
Or a
so is,
teenager
you know what I
thing.
mean? And like,
But yeah.
yeah,
But that's what I mean. Like,
and
I
it's
think the height of getting more mature and being mature is learning how to be happy and accepting that you might not get to have the last word, the final say, be the most right, you know, win. Like sometimes
yeah,
to win, ultimately, you have to lose. You have to capitulate. You have to like it's not I mean I don't think I'm talking about capitulating in this situation, but like with the neighbor we were talking about before, like sometimes, the ultimate solution is to like let go of being right.
take the
And
L for the ultimate W.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
and hopefully
it's
this
not
person
like,
can see that.
yeah, I think that, oh, I hope they can. I think
Yeah.
like, I mean, I just feel like, but I also think it is this process and it's hard to get to that point because I still sometimes feel like, man, especially in certain situations, I want to be right. I am right. Like,
Mhm.
listen to me. I'm right. You're wrong. Just
Mhm.
accept it. But like, and I think maybe it's easier in situations like this with a community, your hobby group instead of your family.
Right. Yeah.
So start here. This is a good practice.
Mhm. But ultimately, I'm sorry to the letter writers. It's
Oh
very
yeah,
frustrating trying to do your
totally.
hobby
So
with somebody
annoying.
who's putting like this weird dark cloud over it. And thank you
Yeah,
so much for writing in. If you want to write in a
absolutely.
question to get some amazing advice from Lizzy Acker, not only can you text her like we mentioned before, but you can find her on a myriad of social media. And
Pretty much
also,
any
you have
social
an
media, just
email.
like put in my name. Yeah. I do have an email address. It's lacker at oregonian.com. And I should say, there was a person on Great British Bake Off named Lizzy Acker. Did you know that?
That's right.
Lizzie, though. I spell it with a Y. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
that has messed up a bit of the search. If you're searching for me on social media, you may find a Great British Bake Off contestant with my name. However, I'm not much of a baker, at least not that
She
level of
had,
baker.
for me, she had an almost unintelligible accent, but I loved
Yeah.
her.
I loved her too. And when I found out we
Yeah.
had the same name, I was like, because everyone, would be like, oh, Lizzy, she's the quirky one. I'm always giving like, you're the quirky one. So now I'm older, I'm less quirky, but you know what I mean. Anyway, loved
Mm-hmm.
Lizzy Acker from Great British Bake Off. I, however, spell my name with a Y. So,
She's the advice giving Lizzy Acker, and if you
mhm,
want baking advice, you can still send it our way.
yeah.
All
And
of
if you're
that
the
stuff will be
baking
in the
Lizzy Acker,
description
reach
below.
out.
We would
We'd
love to have
love to
you.
have you as a guest on this podcast.
Yeah, baking advice with Lizzy Acker from Lizzy Acker.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, maybe we'll start this. Everybody, if you're listening to this, please tweet the other Lizzy Acker and get her in. We would love that.
We would love it. Okay.
We wouldn't even make her wear glasses. It would be fine.
I'm pretty sure she does. No, maybe she doesn't. We'll give her a pair.
Yeah. With the mustache.
um, oh my
Anyway,
gosh,
I think
yeah.
you did a great advising as per
You too.
usual.
As per
Thank
usual,
you so
you
much.
were a great advice sister.
Thank you. This will be the last week I'll be in Florida for Why Though, so we get to reunite next week. So exciting!
Oh my
Please
gosh.
send us in your questions. You can find all the information on where to find Lizzy, or also me if you need me for
Hmm.
something, in the description of this podcast
For
below.
anything.
Please visit. Yes, please visit OregonLive.com/whytho, WHYTHO, spelled the
Hmm.
cool way, to see all of Lizzy's old columns, the upcoming columns, and also old episodes of this very podcast.
Yeah, and you can go to YouTube. You can find this like so many
Mm-hmm.
places. You can see our faces if you're just listening and you're like, what do they look like? Go to YouTube. You can see us having
You
this
can possibly
conversation.
catch me drooling in this episode, so
You
pretty
know what?
worth
I didn't
it.
even see it. I didn't see you drooling, and I'm like pretty sad.
I don't think it really happens most of the time. For those
Well,
TMJ girlies out there.
yeah. Thank you so much, Destiny, for taking time from Florida to talk to me here in Oregon. And I can't wait to see you in person next week.
Yes, thank you for advising. I think it was great, and we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
That was in harmony. That's good.
For listening to Why Though the podcast. Subscribe for weekly episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you're looking for more Why Though, check out my column that comes out every Tuesday on OregonLive.com. You can support our local journalism by going to OregonLive.com/pod support.